you tell me that I was talking to a guy excessively at this event we were at, and it didn't feel good to you. And I'm like, that didn't happen. I was not talking to a guy. I don't even know who you're talking about. I wasn't talking to a guy. And you think we're in a normal conversation, so you start
I
explaining
saw
yourself.
you.
Yeah, I saw you. I saw it with my own eyes. No, what you saw was, and I tell you something different. So I'm denying your reality.
That's gaslighting.
That's the first part.
Okay.
The second part is I then make you feel like you're crazy. You do this all the time, George. You're so sensitive. You get so overreactive when I'm around guys. I think maybe you might need some help for this because this is really a problem.
Okay.
That's
I
the
get it.
second part.
Okay. But
And
how many
then
parts are there to
There's
this?
three. There's three. Wear one. Yeah. Makes it very real, though.
I wear a lot of hats.
Do you? I'm starting to.
Figuratively and
Oh yeah,
literally.
me too. Totally. Me too.
Let me set this up for you.
Whew, I wasn't nervous till just now.
You're good.
Do people get nervous?
I guess.
A little bit. I mean, I know you don't because you
I
do
don't.
this.
It's fun. I think people get nervous. I think we all get nervous on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We all get nervous, like
Mhm.
public speaking. Like that's like one of our biggest fears for most
It's
people.
funny. I do not get nervous with public speaking
You don't?
at all. I
Like
used
you
to.
just
I used to. It's just I've been doing it for 20 years.
yeah. I'm
But
turning off
this
my
is a
phone.
whole different topic. So this is a different situation for me.
Yeah.
Plus, I've never done this before.
Well, I hope
But I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I
Yeah.
hope that this isn't the first time you get out there. I think I was talking to a friend last night. I went out to support some friends that were having an event, and I know I'm pretty late. I think I went in bed maybe like at 2:33 in the morning.
Jeez. Yeah.
And so one of the things she was telling me is that a lot of people have asked her to be on a podcast. They want to hear her story. There's a lot of different things that she does.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mentioned to her, I said, look, at the end of the day, we all have a story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
We all resonate with different people in different ways, different capacities. You don't know who your message can help.
Yeah. So true.
And so, yeah,
So
thank you
true.
for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course, absolutely. We're gonna have to thank Carrie Thompson
Yes.
for introducing us. How do you know Carrie? How did you guys meet?
Being recorded right now?
Yeah.
Okay. One of my board members, Grace Serrano, introduced me to Carrie because they worked together. And so then I had dinner with Grace and Carrie, and then Carrie's husband, Eric. And then they decided to have me at the last minute come speak just for a few minutes at an event they were having like 5 days later. And that's how I met her.
I know Grace.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of my best friends. We've been friends for, oh my gosh, 29 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I met Grace. It's funny. Someone uploaded a picture of me from like 20 years ago. And one of the people that was in the same office as Grace at the time.
Yeah.
So I met Carrie about 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. Grace, Rebecca, and so Rebecca said, "Hey, that's when I met you. I remember that kid, from 20 years ago. It was here in Rancho,
Wow.
at a real estate office.
Well, all you guys are connected. That's what I'm finding out.
It's a small world,
Yes.
very small world. That's why
Yeah.
you can never burn your bridges. You shouldn't do it regardless, but
Right.
still.
Especially in a small world. Well, Grace is, because she's one of my longest time friends and because she's known Hunter for his whole life, I asked her to be on my board of Hunter's Heart. So that's how that's how the connection came to be. She wanted to introduce me to Carrie. Carrie had some potential platforms, and Carrie wanted to vet me. I'm learning the hard way that when people are vetting me, I need to be vetting them also. Not with Carrie, but just with some other situations where I was so overzealous to get the story out, get the word out, share, be on as many platforms as I could, that I didn't realize that while someone is vetting me, I need to also be vetting them and making sure this is something I know. I just didn't know it for this little world. Um, to make sure it's a good fit, to make sure we're a good fit. So,
Yeah. I've had some people on my podcast, and I've had actual people reach out that are friends, and they've said, "Hey, you're having XYZ on a podcast, and you have to understand some people have to come up with receipts,
mm,
right? They have to have
mm-hmm,
receipts for the
mm-hmm,
things that they're saying."
mm-hmm,
One of the things I mentioned to them, I said, "Look, sometimes it's a world I don't know. Like, I have an open platform. It's not like my platform's about real estate. My platform's, there's no specific thing. And so if someone's in, for example, the movie industry, they could say certain things. I don't know if they're
right,
saying the truth or not.
right,
I'm taking someone at their word,
mm-hmm,
right? But I do understand that we have to vet people. I mean, obviously, I have to vet people in my job, but in that other capacity is a little bit harder.
yeah.
So, what kind of research do you do?
For Hunter's Heart,
Yeah.
um, research on people
Uh-huh.
or for Hunter's Heart?
I mean, when you're vetting people.
I haven't, well, I just realized I need to start doing this. So I haven't, well, I vetted one person so far because
Yeah.
this epiphany just came to me like last week. And actually Grace was one of the people who helped me
Yeah.
kind of realize, not everybody gets to hear my story.
Yeah.
And, as much as I want Hunter's story to get out there, it needs to be in the right platform and, with the right, I don't know what the word is, the right
Energy
surrounding
surrounding.
yes, energy. That's
Yeah.
the word. It's energy. So I'll be doing that moving forward, but I'm not exactly experienced at this yet. I think it'll just be a feeling I get. It'll be an energy, a vibe, a connection, or not. And if not, I need to not push through that. That's what I learned. And it's not, most of the people that I've interacted with Hunter's Heart have been phenomenal. Like story after story I could tell you of just amazing people, generous people, kind people. It was a one-off. When I look at all the people who have been involved in Hunter's Heart, there have been very few disappointments so far. I know there will be. That's just people. And so this will be a new thing, but I don't think it's going to be any kind of formal. I'm not going to look them up. I'm not going to stalk them. I'll see how I feel after talking with them or zooming with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at a tattoo convention maybe about a year ago, and I could see, someone going through the tattoo convention. I mean, there's thousands of people there, and they're doing interviews, and they always say like, no attention is bad attention, right?
Mm.
I disagree with that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And I could see the guy, and I could see some of the questions he's asking, and I could see that he's asking
Mm-hmm.
gotcha
Mm-hmm.
questions, virality, right? And so one of the things he came and he asked me was like, what are like some of your red flags? And I could tell he's all over the top, and like the crew, I felt the energy, and so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to give him answers that would not give him content.
Mm-hmm.
I'll engage,
Right.
but I also don't want to go viral or for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
for what?
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
agree with you. There's just some things that are just not. I think it's like one step forward, two steps back type
Yeah.
situation.
Sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. So with your organization, when did you guys start that?
So we launched October 2nd, October 3rd of this year
Okay.
or of 23. I go by school years, so because I work in education.
Yeah.
So it was October, which was what, like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Um, I started working on Hunter's Heart in late July, early August. So it was 2 months, basically, 2 months and a week, which is, I mean, just doesn't happen. I had the idea. I didn't have the idea. My son had the idea. My oldest son, a week after Hunter died, he came to me and said, Mom, I know you're going to start a nonprofit. And when you do, I want to be a part of it. And, at the time, I couldn't even digest what he was saying. I just was like, what in the world? Like, I can't even eat a piece of toast right now. Um, but, those words kind of kept mulling over my head. And then, um, in April which was about a month and a half after Hunter died. Everything's before Hunter died or after Hunter died now for me in
Yeah.
my life. Like everything's before and after. So this was a month and a half after. I was in Italy with my husband, and my parents did not want to go. This was a trip that had been planned for months and months beforehand. And I mean, I really didn't want to go. I wanted to sit on the couch and mourn and grieve and just be. And my husband kept saying, "We don't have to go. If you don't want to go." And I didn't want to let my parents down. Um, so many plans had been put into place. And even up to the night before, my husband Mark said, "We don't have to go. We can cancel. Let's cancel. We do not have to go." Because I said, I don't want to go." And then he said that, and I said, "Well, I don't want to be here either. So we might as well be in Italy." And in Italy, the reason I'm talking about it is because that's where I wasn't really talking to God at this point. Prior to Hunter dying, I had a close relationship with God. When he died, I just totally stopped speaking to God. And so I wasn't really engaging with God at this point. And most people who know me will never hear me say things like this anyways, but God like downloaded the name. The name Hunter's Heart was just like boom, like a megaphone. And so I started, writing stuff down in my phone, and then the mission statement. Almost like within a few words of what it is now, downloaded. Um, so I can't really take credit for any of that because that was God. And what I can take credit for is that I pushed through and made this happen, but it was not my idea. This was supposed to be. And so that idea and the name, the mission statement, this is like oh no, this was late April, mid to late April. We were there for 2 weeks. And then in June, Mark and I sat down with my mentor from college. I went to Azusa Pacific, and she had been my mentor, and her husband, um, Gail and Glenn, they had just been wonderful to me. I had lived with them for the summer between my freshman and sophomore year. They'd just been really wise counsel for me, and I had lost touch with them. And as it turns out, they lost their son 5 years prior. So she had gotten a hold of me, and we went over to their house. I hadn't seen them in 20 years, 15, 20 years. And, lots of tears and lots of compassion. And we're sitting on the couch, and I said, I have this idea for this nonprofit. God gave me this name and the mission statement. I'm going to see if I can get through this year, if I can survive this year, because I really didn't know if I was going to. Like on the daily, didn't know if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get through this year, and then I'll start moving toward this. And Glenn, Gail talks a lot, like typical woman, typical man relationship. She's the talker, he's the sit back, but when he talks, you listen. You pay attention. It's wise. It's wisdom. And he said, Shauna, I really think you should do this now. I think some of the best nonprofits are born out of tragedy, and I think you need something to pour yourself into. And I'm just looking at him like, are you crazy? Like, I can't even get out of bed right now. Brushing my teeth is a huge accomplishment. So that was June. And by late July, I listened. And I thought, okay, I'm going to see if the name's available. Because if the name isn't available, I'm not doing it. It has to be this name. It cannot be any variation of Hunter's Heart. It has to be Hunter's Heart. So if the name's not available, that's easy. And so I had to learn all this. I didn't know what I was doing. I hired a company to get the name or to see if the name's available. It's like $150. And I thought, okay, well, this will be good. And I waited, for a few days, and then I got notification, the name's available, it's yours. And part of me was excited, and part of me was like, oh crap, I got to do this now.
Yeah.
So that was late July, early August, and then October 2. I think it was October 2, we launched. So that is
That's
a very long answer to your short question.
no, it's okay. I think there's, I mean, obviously that there's a lot there in regards to, I think just like the support of your spouse, right?
Yes.
Um, family plans before and after, friends that you reconnect. It's what I was mentioning to you earlier, where I dated someone in the past who had cancer,
Mm,
and I didn't know the amount of families that were affected by it because it's never been my family at all. And then I start dating someone, and then all of a sudden, this person knows this person, and it's just as soon as you open up, everybody just comes, and that support. And then you start understanding where different people are, whether it's, let's say, me as a partner, how to support someone, the person going through it, how to still stay in a relationship. And so, like, then reconnecting with your friend or your mentor, I'm sorry, and for them giving you the advice to still push through, which is challenging. I've heard Jordan Peterson say we all get to choose our hell. I'm
mm,
like, he's like, so it's like I'm gonna stay in the bedroom and cry, or I'll be in Italy crying. But the point is, I'll be crying, but it's better to be crying in Italy.
yeah.
Um, so Hunter's heart just came to you.
I
The
mean,
name,
it was God.
yeah.
It did not just poof into my head like it. And I know it's God. I mean, I just knew because I knew. But um, when once I got the name, I said, "Okay, God, I'm not really talking to you right now. This isn't a surprise. And it's not like you don't know this. You do know. You know how hurt I am, and but I can't do this without your help. So if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it together." And it's like not just the name, not just the mission, but door after door after door after door. Every need I've had, everything where I would have got stuck because I didn't have any experience in it, someone has shown up with that exact skill set. And this has happened, like I could tell you stories for 3 days about the army of people who have helped me do this, who have stood by me and behind me and have gone in front of me. Um, so it definitely wasn't my idea. I didn't realize there was a need for this. I didn't think I could do this. I still don't sometimes think I can do this. Um, but no, I really, I've got to give God the credit and the glory for all of it, really. I'm just like, I just tell people, whatever doors open, I'm going to step through them. I'm not going to be kicking and screaming and trying to push the doors down. I'm already overwhelmed with the doors that have opened. I know in your field the doors mean something different because Grace has talked to me about doors. She wants to have a certain number of doors, but opportunities,
Right, right.
that have presented themselves.
Um, I had someone ask me this week and last week. They said, "How is it so easy for you?" I said, "Well, just people are nice. If you're nice to them, you're kind to them.
Yeah.
They see your intentions. Doors open.
Yes.
They open all the time. But yeah, we want as many doors as we can.
Yeah. Doors has multiple meanings.
Many, many meanings. Now,
Yes.
can you share the mission statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I should have looked at it. Let's see if I can get it from memory. Hunter's Heart mission is to provide, it might be a little butchered, but
Yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah,
content
yeah.
will be there to provide education, support, and resources to young men who are in emotionally, it's not emotionally. Okay, let's start over.
Of course.
The mission is to provide education, emotional support, and resources to young men who are in psychologically abusive romantic relationships. Romantic was the word I added
Okay.
because psychologically abusive relationships could be at work, it could be a mother and daughter, it could be a um, many different sisters or friends. So I really wanted to hone in on romantic relationships. That's what we're talking about. That's the niche that we're going to, that we're in.
To provide support for
Yes.
men in abusive romantic relationships,
Psychologically abusive.
psychologically
So
abusive,
not physically
physical.
abusive,
Okay,
though that sometimes goes with it.
of course.
Um, and the other stuff goes with it too, the mentally, the emotionally, the spirit, it can be spiritually. There can be many components, but psychologically. So if we were to use a buzzword today, it'd be a toxic relationship. But I didn't want a buzzword in my mission statement because buzzwords change.
Yeah.
But that's how people would probably relate to it. Or a narcissistic, abusive relationship. That would be another buzzword for today that would be the same thing.
Yeah, I was driving down the street and it said, uh, I have a husband. What is it? Husband, wife, and toxic daughters. on the back of a car. I'm like, why is that on the back of a car?
Wow. That
Yeah,
is one angry person
yeah,
broadcasting that to the world. How
yeah.
sad.
You know how like they have the little stickers on the cars, like the
Yes.
family and the
Yes.
kids,
Like the
and
little dog and the, yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That's horrible.
As I was driving over here, I'm like, that's a little odd.
Yeah, it is.
There's this thing that I was talking to DJ McFly about because one time I posted a video that I don't like to cry, right, or emotions and things of that nature, and I said, look, it was a 3-4 hour conversation. There was a lot more in there, and obviously then we got into the fact that yes, I cry, I have feelings, emotions, and all these things, and I was sharing with my mom maybe about 2 weeks ago, um, and just telling her some things that I was going through. And I told her, I said, look, it's taken me a long time to open up, right? Uh, I said, I may be wrong, um, but I feel like I always need to be able to carry the weight, right? Like I got to carry it. And I didn't want to put that burden on my mom. I've never wanted to put that burden on her. And I told her, I was like, Mom, I've been really messed up, like really messed up. Um, and it's been a struggle. It's been really, really hard, but I can't anymore. Like I'm breaking, right? And I think a lot of times, many of us men don't get to that point. I shared with my brother the other day the same thing. I said, "Man, I've not been well. It looks like I'm well. I can carry well. I can carry it. Um, but I'm in pain. I'm in a lot of pain, and the difference is like the emotional part, right? Like I know how I feel in my head. I'm like the difference between psychological and emotional. Like I'll get through this. I'll be all right. You'll be fine. It's a place and time. Logically. I'm like emotionally, dude, I was like, I'm hurting so bad. So I think that a lot of us men need things like this to be able to reach out and get support. To understand that, and can I get you some?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, no.
It's you talking about your mom and you being in pain that is, it's hard to hear.
Um, it's hard to talk about.
May I ask what your mom said?
Yeah, like my mom says. Well, first of all, she said I knew you were hurting, and I'm glad that you're telling me. Um, she sent me she sent me a video this morning. Like when I opened up my phone, there's a video in there, and it was the hand of an old woman holding like the hand of her daughter, and she put, my mom's like, "I love you." Um, and it was just like I know you're hurting, I know you're in pain, but like kind of like at the end of the day, it's like you'll be fine. Like it's a place and time you're at. Um, my mom's very understanding. My mom's always been there, but I think not mistakenly, because I don't think it's a mistake to want to carry things, but um, when I told my brother and when I started to share with some friends some of my pain, um, I'm like I'm like I can't anymore. Like I'm in so much pain right now. Like I've already done the alone time, crying, reflection, trying to figure it out, trying to carry it for as long as I could. Like the example I can give is like if I'm lifting weight, right? Like I have weights, and it's like it's to the point where like I can't. The weight's gonna fall on me, and I had to open up. I had to share, and it was slowly.
Hmm.
It was thoughtful who I shared what I needed to share with.
Yeah.
It wasn't let me go tell the freaking world. It was like a very specific person, right? And then another person. And then it gets to a point where it's like like a grieving process. My mom said like you need to grieve. You need to go through the stages of grief. And you're at the stage of acceptance. Like you're getting to that stage of acceptance. Like you've done negotiation, you know, just my mom's a very smart woman. She's taught workshops, you know, to help people um, get through certain challenges. So she could recognize and but also not pushing understanding my personality and so I was here last weekend and I shared with my aunt certain things. And it's funny because without them talking, because I know my mom wouldn't say anything, she goes, "You need to grieve."
Mm.
She's like, "I know where you are." So going back to what you were able to start and what your foundation does, and I've had many men in here that tell me, or privately, right? I'm struggling, bro. Like I fucking don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. Um, and I hear them out as friends.
Hmm.
You know, don't judge them. Try to. Sometimes it's just listening to someone. That's all they need. But but a lot of them don't open up. But they are struggling. And
Yeah.
so your organization, I think, is something that could really help.
Yeah. When I was looking to see if there were resources like this for men, I didn't find anything. I found a lot of resources for women, lots and lots and lots of resources for women in these types of relationships. I didn't find anything for men. And I'm not saying there's nothing out there, there might be,
Sure.
but I didn't find it. And so it seemed to be a real hole that needed to be filled because it used to be, well, it probably never was, but it used to be more that we knew about girls and women who were in these types of relationships. And like you said, the men don't talk about it. They keep it in until the weight is too much to carry, or they keep it in until they explode, whatever that looks like. It's not a good ending. Um, but there didn't seem to be help for them. And so it's something I feel very passionately about.
A friend of mine told my little brother that he was going to go talk to a therapist.
Hmm.
He said, "Hey, I watched your brother's podcast and I saw the clip where he was saying that we need to be vulnerable
Mm.
and how hard it is to be vulnerable, but that we need to do it. And because otherwise, like, it has no way of escaping. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, the explosion happens." And so my brother was sharing with me, he's like, "Hey, man, this is, you know, so and so said this." And I said, I mean, that's my mom has always taught us to share our feelings, share our emotion. The older I've gotten, the more I've wanted to carry to, because I've always felt like it's a burden put onto the others, right? Like, let me carry this burden. It's my burden. I have to figure it out. But someone said, well, if you help others when you carry their burden, why don't you want to be, let's say, loved the same way back? Like people want to love you the same way.
Absolutely.
I mean, darn it. Like you're
Yes.
right. You're
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yes, you're right.
It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. And so right now with the organization, um, are people able to reach out to you guys, or how are you guys?
Yeah, so I've made it really easy for people to reach out. I probably won't be able to do this forever, but my phone number's out there, email address is out there. We're really active on socials, primarily Instagram. Um, and men have reached out to me, but you know who else has reached out to me are moms and dads. And that was something that uh, I didn't know beforehand, that we would basically have two different wings.
Mm-hmm.
We have the men, and then we have their loved ones, and we need resources for both. So right now, most of our resources are for the men, and what I want to do is have a whole section for the loved ones. Like, how do we talk to them? How do we, what do we do? How do we help them? And then eventually, maybe we'll have a wing for women. But that has been a surprising um, evolution. And my background is in education, and then I also have my coaching certification. I've been a coach, a life coach for since 2014. I'm thinking I'll probably use those skills. I think I already am in this nonprofit. Um, but yeah, the loved ones. So the men, and it's interesting. There was a guy who reached out to me on Instagram, and Hunter was a lineman, an electrical lineman for the city of Riverside. And this man is a lineman. Um, and he said, this guy has donated a couple of times randomly to Hunter's Heart. He didn't even know Hunter. And he said, I will continue to randomly donate because what you're doing is so important. And he said, I was in a relationship like this, and it nearly destroyed me. It took me out of the trade. It's taken me years to rebuild. And I said, well, can I use your story as a testimonial? We really would love testimonials. And he said, not right now. It's too fresh. And this is years later, too fresh. Um, so that was really neat. And then he later messaged me, he direct messaged me and said he had worked with a guy who knew Hunter. And it's a small world, the lineman world, just like the realtor, mortgage, finance world is a small world. So that's one young man. Most of the stories that I know about are from the loved ones. They're the ones who are reaching out right now. We're still so new. Who knows what it's going to evolve to be? My hope is that it'll be a safe place for men, and even that we have our own, what is it called? Like a hotline or text. It'll probably be like a text line because I don't think people really like calling when they're in a place like that, but that we will be able to really provide um, life-changing support. That these guys know their life matters and they will get through it, and it's going to hurt like hell, probably for a long time, but that there is hope. Because I think when you're knee deep in it, you don't see hope.
Yeah. Um, what is it? You can't see the picture when you're that close to the frame.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny because, not funny, but Mark and I, my husband and I, were at a grief retreat this last weekend. And I mean, I don't even like grief groups. I've attended one and it was on Zoom. And I tried to attend another and I left 10 minutes in. It didn't go well. So this grief retreat, I'm like, what am I thinking? I'm going to be with these people for an entire weekend. But I had vetted them a little more carefully than the grief meeting that we went to, and it's this ministry called While We're Waiting, and it's specifically for um, parents who have lost children. So you're not sitting there listening to people who've lost their grandma and trying to relate to that because it's not relatable. And the guy said he actually came and he stood real close to a picture, and he said, "You guys, all of you, there was 20 of us. You're right here, right now. You can't see anything. The world is black and white. But with time, you're going to be further away from the picture. You'll be able to see the colors again. You'll be able to see, you know, the picture." And that was one of the best things I got out of the weekend. And I talked to my husband about it too. He said that was such a good analogy.
It's and that's the thing. Logically, you know it. Like you just tell that to anybody, and they can apply it to whatever situation. Like, oh, that makes sense. But when you're in it, doesn't fucking matter what you know logically. Like that's the conversation again, with my mom and you know, my aunt last week she said, about loving yourself. Like you have to love yourself. I'm like, and I told her jokingly, I was sitting there on my chair. I was like, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "I love myself. Like I really, really do love myself." I said, "Logically, I know where I'm at, but it doesn't fucking change the fact of how I feel. Like I can't change my feelings yet. Like I know that that's going to take time
Yes.
to be able to take those steps back." Um, and little things like that, little conversations that I've had with friends, and for many different reasons, for many different things that they're going through. There's resources out there. So I think if anyone's struggling, if anyone is in that type of relationship or even family, I think family is probably the first person to notice it. It's kind of like AA, or I may be wrong. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I went to AA meetings.
Hmm.
I got sober many years ago, and then they have the group for the families
Yeah.
that are
Al-Anon.
Al-Anon
Yeah.
and how they deal with someone who's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? They have to understand and know how to deal with someone who's an alcoholic, which I was an alcoholic,
Yeah.
or I am an alcoholic, I guess it's the saying.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. And how do they help in a way that the addict, or in this case, the man in the relationship, will listen?
Hmm.
Because when you're knee deep in it, you don't see it.
I would tell my parents when they would tell me about alcohol. Again, I'm like, I know, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I
That
know, but
that
I don't want to.
disconnect. The disconnect between what you know and how you feel.
Hmm. And I told, and I would, after I got sober, I would get DMs, messages, on all platforms from women, right, which are wives of men who drink
Mm,
a lot. Majority was women trying to ask me like, George, how did you stop drinking? Can you
mm,
talk to my husband? Can you help me? Part of my response had to be, of course I can, but understand that he won't change until he wants to change. I didn't change until I wanted to change and make a connection between logic and emotion. Once you connect logic and emotion, then you're 100. But if not, you're just stuck in this duality of like, I know it's not good for me, but I feel it.
but it's
But
always the but.
it's always the but.
Hmm.
Um, so they can find you guys on Instagram under Hunter's Heart.
Yes, we're on TikTok, though I haven't posted a lot there.
Okay.
We're on Facebook. We have a website, huntersheart.org.
And people can donate on the website.
People can donate on the website. We have merch. We have the hat I'm
I
wearing.
like the hat.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the hat. I had a bunch of guys look at the different ones first to pick.
Uh-huh.
I think Hunter would have worn this hat. Would have loved it. And then we're getting shirts, t-shirts, and hoodies. So those are ways that I think people can donate where there's something tangible. But we're a 501(c)(3), so it's a tax write-off. I mean, that was huge. That was another huge God thing. So 501(c)(3), first of all, I had no idea how to do that. I didn't even know what entity you apply. And a friend came alongside who had a nonprofit, and she said, I'll do it with you. Let's Zoom." And in one Zoom, she helped me fill out the application. And let me tell you how long that would have taken me. I would have been stuck on so many of the questions. And she's like, okay, she knew how to do it.
Right.
This. She just navigated through. And there was a 10-month wait for the IRS to grant a 501(c)(3). And we applied in, I don't know, mid-September, no, early September. I don't know. Time is a whole other thing. Um, and it was 3.5 weeks.
Oh wow.
3.5 weeks, not 10 months, not 9 months, not 3 months, 3.5 weeks. We got the complete Like, here's your number, your 501(c)(3." And I was just like, okay, God, like, even though we're not still really talking a lot, you're making yourself very known to me along the way. So yeah, so it's a tax write-off, which was huge to me. That if people want to be generous and they want to donate, that they would get the tax write-off. I think it's huge.
I think it is huge. My brothers and I help support the Children's Foundation of America,
Mm,
which is foster children.
mhm.
And then through the Weston Real Estate Professionals, there's 4 charities events a year. So there's 4 charities that we support. Um, the most recent one that we're doing is Operation Community Cares, which they send care packages to soldiers overseas. And someone asked me at an event, at a charity event 2 days ago, they said, "How do you get so many people to support?
Mm.
Right? How do you get so many people to donate?" I said, "Easy." That's my response to so many things in life. I'm like, it's easy. You just ask.
Yeah.
And we have so many great supporters online through different platforms. And I think many times, in my opinion, people are good, generous, kind, supporting, loving, just like the people that you've encountered. And if you give people an opportunity to participate in something that resonates with them, they're always willing to support. But we have to get the message out there.
Yeah.
We have to get out there. And as long as we get out there and we provide, whether it's to support veterans or to support Hunter's Heart or the Children's Foundation, whatever resonates with you, we have all these charities. And then now it's the vetting. The vetting's already been done. We've done the vetting, right? Because then people say, well, who do I Google? How do I Google? Where do I go? You were looking for support for men, prior to starting the organization to figure out, okay, well, what support is out there for men?
Right.
There is none,
Right.
or you can't find it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll talk. We'll definitely continue to stay in contact. And maybe one of those charities events, we have to go through an approval process with the board. But then maybe one of our charity events could be for your
Oh,
organization.
that'd be amazing. That's one thing I'm trying to get better at doing is the ask. Like you said, you have to ask. And so people will say, "Let me know how I can help." And I just have not known what to say. Well, I've recently, the last two people who've asked me, I've said, if you have any platforms that we can speak, we being me, because I'm the one speaking right now, um, or if you work for an organization or a company that needs a nonprofit to donate to. Those are two huge ways people can help. And we just got a donation yesterday from a nonprofit, and it's a significant donation. Like, it's as much as we've been able to raise so far from crowdfunding, it's like half of that.
Yeah.
And it was just because one of the board members asked. And then this company gets the write-off. So it's a win-win, and it's a way that they can partner like you're partnering with something that matters, something that's going to make a difference. And it does have to resonate. But I am shocked at how many people this resonates with.
What are like parents? Like, I think. Well, I mean, I'm not a parent, right? So sometimes I'm like, I don't want to give an opinion, and people are gonna come after
Yeah.
me because
Yeah.
you're not a dad. Shut up. So, are there signs that parents can look for?
Yeah.
Like, what are some signs that parents can
Yeah.
like?
So I'll tell you the signs. So Mark and I knew that this was not a good relationship Hunter was in. We knew it from a few months in. We started seeing some, I call them red flags, signs. Um, but we had no idea how bad it was. And he didn't tell us how bad it was. I don't know if he knew how bad it was. He knew it was bad, but certainly he didn't know how it was going to end. And so the first thing that we noticed was the first thing we noticed that we didn't notice, that like looking back, was the love bombing. I noticed it. I noticed that she was super affectionate, very overly loving. I didn't know what was happening behind closed doors, but I saw that there was a lot of this going on. I didn't know what it was. I'm becoming an expert on all this stuff now after the fact. But it's called love bombing, and it's what a girl we'll just use this platform. So what a girl will do with a guy in a brand new relationship, they'll come on real strong. They'll be all over them, they're the greatest thing ever. And that can go on for anywhere from 6 months to a year. And from what I'm learning, it's more addictive than drugs. I mean, this guy is feeling like he's on top of the world. So that's not necessarily something they would see. They wouldn't see it all, but they'd see some of it. They'd see that they would see a relationship happening very quickly. And same thing for the guy. Um, he would see that he's like, this is happening very, very quickly. And one of the things that I've learned is, and this isn't to answer, this is like, can I bird walk? Is that okay if I bird?
You could go all
I
over
mean,
the
I mean,
place.
I've been bird walking a lot, but this is a bird walk. So when
I'll
the
bird
guy,
walk with you.
okay, good, we'll do our walk. So when the guy is being love bombed, and if he realizes it, if he's like, or if his friends say, "Gosh, it seems like you just met this girl and you're living together 6 weeks later," um, the guy can. One of the ways to tell if this is a narcissistically abusive person or if this is going to be a psychologically abusive relationship is they put the brakes on a little bit and they say, let's slow it down a little bit. Maybe let's not move in together quite yet. Still getting to know each other. I really love what I'm seeing, but let's take it slow. If it's a healthy relationship, that girl is going to be like, no problem. They might be a little bit hurt, but they're not going to freak out. They're not going to rage. They're not going to gaslight. They're going to understand and they're going to say, you know what, you're right. Um, I want to have a healthy relationship. Now, if it's not a good relationship, that person is going to react. They're going to gaslight the guy. They're going to make them feel small. They're going to guilt them, shame them,
Help
and
me
all that
understand
happens. Yes.
what gaslight
Okay.
is.
So,
Because I'm not a
yes.
cool kid,
Yes.
but I
Okay.
don't
You're
want
going to
any.
be, oops, you're
No,
going
no,
to
no. I just want
be,
to put it.
you'll be such a cool kid by the time we're done. You're going to know
Yeah,
all about
I
this.
am. I think Carrie tried to teach me what gaslighting
Okay.
was, but I think I already forgot.
Okay. I'll,
What
I'll,
does
I'll remind you.
gaslighting mean?
So, gaslighting comes from this movie. I think it was in the 40s.
Okay.
And it was this movie about this girl being gaslit by, I think it was her husband. And up until a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it was mostly therapists using this word. So the common folk, as Gen Pop, started using it a few years ago. And last year, it was the word of the year in
Hmm.
2022, so a year and a half ago. 2022, gaslight was the word of the year. There were 1,740% more searches for this word. So it's obviously a pretty big thing. And what it is the first thing is they deny your reality. So um, you tell me that I was talking to a guy excessively at this event we were at, and it didn't feel good to you. And I'm like, that didn't happen. I was not talking to a guy. I don't even know who you're talking about. I wasn't talking to a guy. And you think we're in a normal conversation, so you start
I
explaining
saw
yourself.
you.
Yeah, I saw you. I saw it with my own eyes. No, what you saw was, and I tell you something different. So I'm denying your reality.
That's gaslighting.
That's the first part.
Okay.
The second part is I then make you feel like you're crazy. You do this all the time, George. You're so sensitive. You get so overreactive when I'm around guys. I think maybe you might need some help for this because this is really a problem.
Okay.
That's
I
the
get it.
second part.
Okay. But
And
how many
then
parts are there to
there's
this?
three. There's three. So, but the first and two have to go together because the first part, that could just be lying,
Yeah.
right? I'm just lying. I wasn't
Right.
talking to the guy. Well, you have evidence that I was. That disputes the lying.
I saw
But
you.
it's making the person feel like they're crazy.
Okay.
And the third part, it's really not the third part, but this is something that has to be present, is it's a pattern. So this didn't just happen once with your girlfriend. It didn't just happen 2 or 3 times. This happens on a regular basis that she is denying your reality, making you feel crazy, and it's a pattern. So it has to be, the
Gaslighting.
pattern has to be there for the gaslighting. I've been
Lying, denying, and pattern.
Not the lying. Well, the lying's part of it, but they're denying your reality. They're
Okay,
saying this didn't
denying your
happen. Yeah,
reality.
this
I'm
didn't
sorry. Okay,
happen. I mean, this has happened with some of our kids where it's like, no, no, I didn't do that. Kids do that all the time. But then
sure.
what they don't do is then make you feel like you're crazy. So someone who's been gaslit, and Hunter was being gaslit like for a couple of years probably, and I didn't realize it. I knew about gaslighting, but I didn't make the connection. And he would say things like, I thought this was happening. I thought she was doing X, but then she told me no, and I must have just been mistaken. And he's people who are being gaslit, they doubt themselves. They're like, yeah, you start to the ground doesn't feel like the ground. You're all discombobulated. And it's very common. It's a manipulation tool, and it's evil. It's horrible because the person isn't just having their reality disputed, they're feeling like they're going crazy, and it's happening on the regular.
Okay, I've definitely experienced. Do I experience being gaslit, or
I
is
don't
it or is it
know. You are gaslit.
me as a?
Yeah, they are gaslighting you.
Oh, I've been gaslit. Okay, gotcha. Hmm. Interesting.
Was it in a romantic relationship?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you start to doubt yourself
Yes. Yes.
because you're like, well, I thought I was a good judge of character. I thought I could read people. I guess not.
Yeah.
It's not like a logical thing. It's just this thing that starts to happen. And pretty soon you're apologizing for things you didn't even do
So
just to keep the
that's a
peace.
point that well that men could look at. If you're being gaslit, that's a red flag.
Huge red flag.
Okay.
That is a relationship you want to get out of. And you could be gaslit at work, you could be gaslit with a friend or with your family member, but I'm talking specifically about in a romantic relationship. If you're being gaslit and it's happening on this is a pattern, this is not going to go well. There's no happy ending for this. Yeah,
And parents can recognize that too. How can parents recognize that, or loved ones for that matter?
well, I should have recognized it toward the end when he was saying, I thought this, but then she said, I thought X, but then she said Y, and I guess I was wrong. And when they're saying that often, he didn't share a lot of stuff like that with me because it was really important to me that I like her. So there was this, Hunter used when you were talking about your mom, the reason I got teary eyed, um, he used to come to me with stuff, but then he got into this relationship and it all changed. So here's the going back to your question, the big one that the parents will see, the first one. Is that me or you?
That was me.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, you need to wipe your eye.
No.
I thought you were just
Let's.
giving me a little code. Um, so the big one that the parents will recognize in the early stages is isolation. So within a few months, he was isolated from longtime friends. Within a year, isolated from his brother. They had been best friends. And almost all of his friends. And it was for a variety of reasons that were given. I don't think these were things we said to him. Honey, you're being isolated. No, no, no. She'll come around. Don't, always the eternal optimist. It's going to get better because then for a period of time she wasn't speaking to us. And I don't think that was the one thing Hunter put his foot down on. He was like, I'm still going to see my parents. But him seeing us would be like he comes over for 10 minutes, his phone is blowing up, he's all stressed and anxious, and then he leaves. So it wasn't like this quality time. So for me, I'm trying to have a positive relationship with her because I want my son. I don't want to lose him. And so what a lot of these parents are telling me is that their son has been isolated from them. He doesn't come around anymore. He's not part of family gatherings. They'll go a month without seeing him where they used to see him regularly. That is like when that is happening, it's almost too late in some ways. Um, to I hate saying that it's too late. You're going to have to talk to him in a different way because he's already in. He's already sucked into the vortex. But had I realized all of this, I think I would have been sending Hunter TikToks on narcissistic abuse, on isolation, on gaslighting. I would have been sending him memes. I would have been more bold. I was really careful with what I said because I didn't want to be eliminated from his life. I think I would be less careful. In fact, I know I would be. I'd be less careful.
You mentioned TikTok. Um, I sometimes, I think we all think that our phones are listening to us.
Oh, yes.
Because now, like, I'll open up stuff and, there's certain messages on there that I save,
Mhm.
certain conversations with, psychologists or podcasts, and it's speaking to me. I'm like, bastards. Like where I already know it, but then it's like it finds a way into my heart. I showed a friend, I showed a friend 2 days ago this video. One of the one of the questions in the video, the way that it ends, it says, if you had a child, would you allow your child to date your current partner?
Wow.
Found a thread on Reddit that was 5 questions to ask yourself if you're unsure about your relationship.
Mhm.
If someone told you you're a lot like your partner, would this be a compliment to you? Are you truly fulfilled or just less lonely? Are you able to be unapologetically yourself, or do you feel the need to show up differently to please your partner? Are you in love with who your partner is right now as a whole, or are you only in love with their good side, their potential, or the idea of them? And would you want your future or imagined child to date someone like your partner? And this thread was just filled with people having existential crises.
Wow. Yeah, that's
And
good.
I'm like, it's like it was like a long conversation. Are you in love with your partner or the idea of your partner? Um, are you allowed to be yourself, or do you have to be a different version of yourself when you're with your
Mm.
partner? So different things, right? And I was showing him a video the video that I had saved a couple months ago. Um, but it sounds like it's like a way of connecting with Hunter where like where he's at in the space of like the social media to be able to connect
Yes.
with him there rather than saying, "Hey son, here's a book."
Right.
Like, "Hey, we need to go to a therapist right now."
Right.
It's like let me connect with him where he's at and then
Yes.
okay.
In little sound bites on his level. Because I did at one point when they had broken up said, please go to a therapist. Work through this. Not even knowing how bad it was because we didn't know till after the fact. After we went through his phone, after. Um, but he went once. He went once. He said, she's telling me a bunch of stuff I already know. It's not helpful. And it's also, there's the stigma too. So there shouldn't have been with him, but I just think there are for guys. But one dad reached out. Well, he didn't reach out. One dad, I was talking to him about speaking at his organization. And I was sharing with him about Hunter and about Hunter's heart. And then I heard a couple weeks later from a mutual friend that his son was in a relationship like this and that I needed to call him, that a lot had happened. So I called him and I said, hey, I didn't know that your son was in a relationship like this. Tell me about it. Tell me what's going on. And he said that after he talked to me, prior to talking to me, he would have taken the approach of, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let him figure it out. I'll be here when he falls. And then he realized, when he falls, maybe when he's gone and there's no more chances. So he said, I decided to be really bold. And I'm just like cheering him on. I'm so excited that he did this. And he sat his son down. Son was real close to Hunter's age. And he made him watch the video that I recorded when I launched Hunter's Heart. It's like 3 minutes. And he watched it. His son watched it. And the dad said to him, you are at risk for this exact thing happening. Do you know how I would feel if I was this woman? And he was just said he got really bold with him. And I said, this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. For these, one heart at a time is our slogan. This is our one heart. And a couple weeks later, the son, at least for now, is out of that relationship. probably largely because his dad handled it like that.
I think if you love someone, I mean, it doesn't matter how it looks. Like it's like I'm gonna do what I need to do to take care of you.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't know what to do. Like, what approach do we take? Do we leave you there? Do we let you learn? Do we let you like touch the stove? Go ahead, touch the stove. I already told you
Right.
not to touch it.
Right. That's how you're going to learn. You're going to learn the hard way.
You're gonna learn the hard way.
This is not a situation where parents should let their sons learn the hard way, because the hard way can be catastrophic. And in our case, it was. Had I had a fuller picture of what was happening, of how bad it really was, I would have done a lot of things differently. And that's what this dad said to me. He said, you know what? You didn't know, but I do know. I know because of Hunter, and I know because of you. And so I'm going to take that information and I'm going to take care of my son. It was amazing.
Do you think that this is something that's more prevalent now?
Oh, gosh, yes. I would say it is so prevalent. I would almost use the word epidemic at this
Why?
point. Why?
Why?
Social media, for one. There's actually social media groups I've heard. I haven't been on one where they are teaching girls how to do this. Like it's a whole thing. And I knew that this type of thing existed, like women my age, or you hear about black widows and that kind of stuff. And I'm a true crime junkie, so
Are you?
totally. And so, I hear the stories. I guess I just didn't realize a 20-year-old girl would do this, could do this. It wasn't even in my realm of possibilities. And so I wasn't looking for it. I didn't see it. But it is, every person I talk to has a story. And to me, that's shocking, and the amount of people that this resonates with. Like, even when I was getting ready to launch, and one of my work friends was like, oh, do you have a website? And I said, well, I have one, but it looks like crap because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a web designer. She is a web designer. And she's like, well, let me do it for you. Let me build it for you. And she took my crap website and turned it into something so beautiful. But she had a story. And the person next door at the table had a story. And the other two women had a story. It was their brother. It was their cousin. It was their son. It was their stepson. Everybody has a story. So if everybody has a story, that says epidemic to me. That says prevalence. And that says we have a huge problem here.
Do you think it's more now than it was before?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I think it's more now. I think there's more resources now. I think social media has not helped. I also think people are talking about it more. Because some of the people I've talked to, I'm the first person they've shared their story with. I had a woman tell me her story, and she hadn't told her story to anyone, and it had been years. So people are, hopefully, it's going to I don't know if this is a word, but I make up words sometimes, destigmatize
Yeah.
things. Make it more like this does happen.
Like this is okay. This is not okay, but this
Right.
is something that happens and
This
we
is
can talk
happening.
about it.
This is happening, so let's deal with it.
Yeah, I think social media might definitely have a piece. I was watching someone on social media the other day, and for me it was so cringe. I'm like, I don't understand this young lady, like the things she's saying. And sometimes those type of things are, I don't know. I guess I really couldn't speak about it, but my assumption is that they're praised, like that they're praised for having control, you know,
Mm-hmm.
being able to do what they want with their partner.
Yeah.
Like I tell them what to do, and
Yeah.
like almost like a badge of honor for them. And it's like, that's not love.
Yeah.
That's not healthy. Like when people post, or not even post, but when they talk, it's like, oh, I just love it when it's so passionate that you're always like bickering or arguing. And I'm just like, that's toxic.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like my mom taught us to talk. You know, like one thing she would say in Spanish is todo se arregla hablando. Like everything can be fixed by talking. Like,
I love that.
she would grab my hand, like your other hand, and she's like, "This is your point of view." And like you hold hands, and then we're back in the middle, and then this is my point of view. And articulating the other person's point of view to make sure that you really understood it. And that's how my family is. Like my family is that family where we want to have open dialogue, conversations, critique each other, have fun, do all that good stuff, right? But sometimes when I see others in the world and I'm like, man, where do they go? Right? Like if maybe they have a disconnected relationship, maybe sometimes with parents, there's estrangement.
Yeah.
How do the parents jump in to recognize these things if maybe they're not talking? Or how do friends help friends
Yeah.
who are seeing their friends go through, my friend's isolated, like my friend's always being gaslit, but my friend's not listening.
Yeah. Then what do you do?
What do you do?
I think what I wish Hunter's friends would have done, especially the linemen who he spent a lot of time with, and they knew it wasn't a good relationship. What I wish is they would have known more, because I have to believe that they just didn't understand. They didn't know how dangerous this was. They knew it wasn't healthy. But had they known how it might end, that they would have said, dude, you got to get out. This is going nowhere good. You need to be done. Be done with this. This is not love. And because I know he did have friends telling him, not good. But I don't know. I wasn't in those relationships. I don't also know how much Hunter was telling them, because I think he was keeping some stuff to himself. That I know, had he told me some of the stuff we later found out, I would have had a completely different approach. But another thing with social media, and also um, thinking back to the signs, the red flags, is these type of girls, they want everything to be perfect. It's very important that they have a perfect image, they have a perfect house, the cupboards are perfectly organized, the pantry is perfect, their relationship is perfect, everything's perfect. And so they show that image on social. They get the perfect proposal, and it's all on social media, and everything's all about the Instagram worthy moments, not what's actually happening, but that they can put it out there to the world. That's what I'm learning. That might sound kind of mean, but that's what I'm learning.
And I don't think it sounds mean because I live in the real world, and it's the world of you and I right now.
Yeah.
It's this moment, right? So when I was young, my job had a huge priority over my relationships. I made that mistake. It's a mistake that, like, hey, well, I'm glad I made it, right? Like, but at dinner, answer my phone. On a date or hanging out with my partner, answer my phone. Everything took priority. My job took priority over my relationship. And now, like, I'll just leave my phone. So this is the real world.
Yeah.
Sometimes people ask me like, "Hey, did you see this?" or "Hey, did you see this online?" I look very active on social. I am active on social, but what matters to me is who's in front of me, which is the most important thing. My family, my friends. I don't live in social media. It's like I think I've said it before. It's like Ready Player One. There's a movie, a Steven Spielberg movie. It's in the future, and the future's so bleak for people that they plug into this virtual world, and that's where they live.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's social media.
Yeah. It's not the real world.
It's not the real world.
No.
So, yeah, live in the real world.
Yeah.
It's nicer. There's
Yeah.
birds. We're on this bird walk
Yeah,
right now.
we're connecting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, I think that with we rep, there's maybe something we can do. I mean, I know there's definitely something we can do to help you guys out.
Thank
I
you.
definitely want to do that. I've had too many conversations with my friends, or my friends go through things, and I mean, the thing is, I'm me as a person. I tell them I'm honest, but at the end of the day, it's obviously that person being able to make a choice, but then allowing them and helping them make a choice of where to go. I
Yeah.
think might be the solution, and Hunter's Heart could provide that resource for them.
Yes.
Um, you want to tell me about Hunter?
I do. I was
Okay.
just thinking that. If I can do it without crying. Let's see. Well, on our website are a lot of pictures of him. So it's pretty easy to see quickly that he was a beautiful, beautiful man. Inside and out. Um, kind-hearted, respectful, loving, hilarious, so much fun. He and I had our own language. We just had things we said to each other. Actually made a list of those things. So we would just say things, and I had, he was my son, but he was also my person. And I didn't realize that till after. So we're almost at 1 year, and time has stood still for me. Still feels like March 11th in a lot of ways. I mean, he just larger than life personality, got along with everybody. The job that he was in when he died was with Riverside Public Utility. He applied for this job as a lineman. He was 20 when he applied. 1,500 men applied for one position, and he got it. And I think that speaks to him. Really believed the best in people, and super easygoing and chill. He called me Ma. Hey, Ma. How you doing, Ma? Really dedicated to the gym. Starting when he was like maybe middle school, early high school, started working out, really committed to growing his muscles, getting big, learning new things. There were very few days he didn't go to the gym. And he had a lot of friends there too, and he got into the whole gym toxicity too, that being a little too important. But, I'd hug him and I'm like, Hunter, it's like all muscle. Like this how do you sleep on this? I would say that, like, how do you sleep on this body? It cannot be comfortable. And just really driven, like never satisfied with where he was at in life. Not just, just all aspects, and super generous. Like probably the most generous person I know. So that's Hunter in a nutshell. Very beloved. I posted on our Instagram this envelope I got. So when Hunter died, we got lots of mail, cards, flowers, meals. People were amazing. They were wonderful. But one of the ones that meant the most to me was this. It was like this little 5x7 manila envelope. It had $100 in it and no note. But on the outside of the manila envelope, it said, to Hunter, our best client and a wonderful man. And it was the man's barber shop, his barber, the barber shop. I'm like, this kid impacted people everywhere he went. It's just amazing.
Sounds like he'd be a good friend to have. I think would have gotten along with him. Reminds me like of friends that I have. Reminds me of my brothers. Um, sounds like you raised a good kid.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Is there anything additional, extra Things I didn't ask that you'd like to share?
Just thinking, going through all this stuff in my head. I mean, there's so many things we didn't talk about, but there's so many things we did talk about. I, the only other thing I was going to
I don't have
share.
to. We don't have to go.
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, it's been an amazing conversation. One of my favorite things was you talking about your mom, because Hunter and I had that kind of relationship. And I love that you went to her when you couldn't carry it anymore. That was really brave and wise.
Um, it's it's I've had difficult times in my life. Like I think we all have, right? Like we all go through trials. But what I was going through was months and months of maybe years. She goes, "Oh, it's been longer than that, George." I'm like, yeah, I know. And like the little messages she sends me, like I said, it was an Instagram video of a grandmother consoling her daughter, um, and little messages. And um, I was in Vegas last week, and you know, how did your trip go? And I told her, and I said I laughed so much. Um, I had so much fun, like I needed it. But she's checking in on me, so yeah, I love her.
That's very evident. Sounds like a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, it's I had a when I was younger, I would check in with her all the time. And I had a girl tell me like, "Man, you're always checking in with your mom." And so I had to learn to be my own man in my mind. And that was one of the things that helped me. I think it was a good thing and a bad thing, but it helped me want to be able to carry my weight. To be like I gotta figure out how to carry this. I gotta figure out things in my life without having to call my mom, without having to call my dad. Like I have to grow up,
Mm,
right? But that doesn't mean you still can't check in.
absolutely. And that you can't still bounce things off of them.
Hmm. They're smarter than you. You know?
They've gone before you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My dad would say, look, there's a rock down that road. I've been down that road. I'm just telling you, there's a rock. I just don't want you to hit that rock. That's all
Yeah,
it is. It's like, if you want to, you could still go down the path, but check in with me. I'll tell you where the rocks are.
I love that.
Oh my God, dang it, Dad. He goes, you know, he talks about his three brothers. He goes, I know how the three of you are. The young one listens. He won't go down that path. He's like, you'll go down the path and then maybe turn around and come back one time. Your other brother, he's gonna try to figure out a way. He's gonna stay stuck in that path, right? Like he's just gonna try to go over it, under it. Like I know how the three of you are, and I know how I need to speak to you guys individually. My dad almost died last year. He had a quadruple bypass emergency. We were there for a month, and you know he's sitting on the hospital bed telling me that, and um, like just sharing with me how he sees us, and so um, we've always been close. My teenage years, I think it's just we weren't because I don't want to listen.
Yeah.
But when I realized and I met my dad as a man, to understand who my dad was as a man, my mom shared stories with me of what my dad's childhood was like. And then I understood him, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God. And then a different level of appreciation was there because again, it's the same thing. What resources did my dad have to process all that shit? how did he get through it? How did he figure it out? And it's like, there was
Probably
no,
very little to none.
yeah. So, um, I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think people will find value in what you shared. And my brothers and I will find a way, other ways to continue to support you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Again.
Can I move this?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
I've been like landlocked. I wasn't sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like pinned you against?
Yeah, no. It's okay. Can I take a picture with you, even though my face?
Yeah,
probably
we're
looks
going to take a
horrible?
picture.
Oh,
Of
okay.
course.
Okay.
Absolutely, we're going to take a picture. I love pictures.
Yeah, tell me about those.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
My brothers.
Where are you in the birth order?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah, so that's Diego. That's the baby. That's Mike. It's funny how people, when they.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that's James Dean. You know, so.
Wow. Yeah, Hunter had just finished his sleeve right before he died. And he hadn't filled it all in yet. There was a lot going on there.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
My mom says, I can appreciate the art.
Yeah.
She's like, I hate tattoos, but I can appreciate the art now.
Yeah, I've had to learn to be okay with them.
Yeah, that's my mom's signature.
Oh, wow. Let me see that. Wow. How did that get done?
Had him sign a piece of paper, then tattoo shop, and
That's amazing.
it's my dad's signature.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, when people would see my brothers, they would always ask me like, "Are those your children?"
Mm-hmm.
No, they're my siblings. They're my brothers. Next question is, when did they pass away? I'm like, no, they're here, but I love them. Like
Yeah.
we're about 1 year to 2 years apart, and obviously it's 3 boys, grow up together, play together. They're my friends. Like, I was with them at a charity event for the Children's Foundation on Wednesday, Thursday, and it's just the 3 of us. And the funny thing is, like, they're just like little kids. They still act like little kids. You get them together, they don't stop talking, they don't stop laughing. They're like my little kids. I don't know. I don't have children,
As
but
the
they're
oldest.
just,
Yeah.
I love them. I love them so much.
That's awesome. I love that.
You got any? You got any?
Got any tats?
Yeah.
No, but I've been thinking about doing one for Hunter for the last 11 months.
El corazón se rompe en 1000 pedazos y duele muchísimo. Pero hay que seguir adelante porque sana. El tiempo lo sana todo, hija.
¿Y si el tiempo no me sana?
Sí, estoy segura que te va a sanar. Vas a ver que va a aparecer alguien en tu vida que te agarre fuerte de la mano y te ayude a seguir caminando.